Ah, well, as you can hear from my sigh, everyone, it's been a tough couple of weeks, 10 days in Philly. So I'm going to use today as for me and Justin, and for everyone who listens to us and watches us, as like a therapy session, a vent session. So
Yeah.
I've got my notepad. Justin's not on a couch, but he's on his in his chair. So Justin's gonna get all his feelings out, and you might even see Justin cry at some point today. But or you might see me cry as the therapist. I suppose therapists have had a tear or two now and again during the session. So we see how this session goes today. But yeah, so just buddy, the another terrible ending to a Phillies playoff run. Out again in the NLDS.
Yep.
We go down in extra innings. Orion Kirkering makes just like one of the biggest mental errors that we've seen in Philly sports for a
Yeah.
long time. It has a collapse. We are known in Philadelphia to sort of have these big collapses now and again. But it's usually like a singular game. You know what I mean? You got the Ben Simmons incident with the Sixers. You got Donovan McNabb at the Super Bowl throwing up, and then and you got all these different things. The Kawhi Leonard thing that eliminated the Sixers a few
Yep.
years ago. But you never see a collapse sort of happen to more than one team during a single weekend of sports.
Yeah.
You've got the Phillies losing, you've got the Eagles getting blown out by the Giants, and the Flyers lost their opening game of the season.
Yeah.
So yeah, we start with the Phillies, and we'll get into the Eagles later in the show. But yeah, so how were you feeling, just when you saw, when you were watching this game and it went to extra innings? A lot of things happened during this game. It was tight throughout the entire game. It was a real nail biter. We were watching it live. I was watching it live here in the UK. It was
Yeah.
really late. And by the time I'd watched the end of the Eagles game, I didn't get to bed till like 4:30 in the morning. But I usually would have watched the Eagles game in the morning. But it just so happened that my daughter Betsy chose not to sleep that night. So she was awake all night. So I brought Betsy downstairs. We watched the Phillies game together. She witnessed her first Philly sports collapse. So I thought you may as well break her in young. So
That's what I was about to say. Breaker in young.
yeah. So how are you feeling about everything just that happened in that game, especially in the extra innings?
It was so frustrating, man. And I think the key thing, yeah, Orion made a made a bad decision going home, but you cannot blame it on him, in my
Yeah,
opinion. You blame
yeah.
it on 1 through 3. Turner,
Oh yeah,
Schwarber, Harper. Those guys, they showed up in game 3. They all played really well in game 3. But those guys looked lost at the plate at times and just flailing away. It was absolutely atrocious at the effort that they put forth at the plate, in my opinion. It was a joke. Just flailing and swinging away at everything, and then against Glasnow, whom they had success against as a team, they're
yeah.
swinging at first pitch every time, man. And
Oh
then
no,
you've got Marsh, who'd had a pretty good season. He had a horrible April, but after that, he'd had a really good season. Dude, he was as lost as a duck in high weeds. And
yeah.
all I'd heard on the radio that day, I actually got to listen to WIP pretty much all day because I was traveling for work, so I got to listen.
Mm,
These guys go up hunting for fastballs. They go hunt for, dude. I don't know what they was hunting for, but the fastballs were there. Glasnow was giving them the fastballs. They were
yeah,
swinging at the junk, and it
yeah.
was so frustrating watching the game that night. And the thing, I mean, I've said it a million times. I'm a Red Sox fan, but I'm also a Phillies fan.
Mm,
And what has made I've always kind of rooted for the Phillies. Like
yeah,
I've always had like a National League and American League team. I
yeah,
always have. But I've always had one team, and that's always been the Red Sox for me.
yeah.
But man, I felt so damn bad for all my friends. And I mean, I was pissed myself because I was really pulling for 'em. But like you, Drew. Richie in the Northeast, Matt Gorham,
Yeah.
all the guys in our group, Corey, and then Jack and James, man. Those
Yeah.
guys are so damn diehard. And I know how James lives, Jack, how he lives and dies with this
Yeah.
team. I mean, I'm sure James does as well, don't get me wrong.
Oh, yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
like Jack wears it on his sleeve. It is a badge of honor for Jack. He
Yeah.
loves this team. And it's so frustrating to see somebody put that much into a team and just be let down by them so heartbreakingly because they weren't getting blown out. They were in every game. They could have won every
Yeah.
game, dude.
Yeah. It wasn't like the Dodgers were doing anything special in that game. You know, how many
No,
times we strike out Otani and Mookie Betts? Their
I think
top hitters, Freddie Freeman.
Otani was 1 for 17 for the series or something like that, man.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
would have let Duran pitch to Otani there instead of walking him.
Yeah.
I would have. I
Yeah.
would have. If you get behind in the count, if you're pitching to him and it's a 2-0 count, something like that. Okay, yeah, sure, go ahead and walk him at that
Yeah.
point. Don't just give him a free pass to load the
Yeah.
bases though, because Otani
And
had not
he
done anything.
yeah, Duran ended up walking was it the next batter after they
Betts,
walked
yes,
the Mookie
he
Betts? Yeah,
walked.
they
He
ended up
walked
walking him instead of
Betts.
throwing a strike, which is, just throw a fastball down the middle. You've got an arm that throws, over 100 miles per hour, and you're
Yep.
trying to do one of your splitter or your curveball or whatever his pitch was. Just, you know what I mean? He would have struck him out, and he had. Oh, that killed the game because then he walked in the run because he loaded up the bases,
Yeah.
overloaded the bases, should I say? And then then you could feel it. Then you just knew, as a Phillies fan, after watching multiple collapses that we have throughout the years, you just knew that something was coming. Things were going to get tight. It'd already been a tight game.
Yep.
And you just don't, at that point, you know what I mean? I'm raging inside. I'm going on Twitter. I'm raging. Everyone is raging because you just know the lineup, the batters are not going to. They're not going to come through.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, as much as as much as Castellanos has caught some shit this week, this the second half of the season.
Yeah.
For all of his antics, he's the only one that got
Yeah.
some hits in the series.
Yeah. Exactly.
But the rest of the guys, they just didn't come through because, like you said, they're looking for the bloody long ball all the time. This way they swing at bats, they just want to hit home runs all the time. Now I get the top of the lineup and known for being power hitters and what have you, but in these type of games, you've got to take the pitches that are going to get you on base. You know what I'm saying? Just get on base and see what happens from there. Driving runs. It's not about like sticking to playing small ball or sticking to playing long ball. Play the game. Play baseball. You know what I mean? They preach in their interviews where before the games, we had a chat last night and we're just going to go out there and play baseball like we have since we were kids and this and that. But then when they go up to the plate, it's a completely different story. They're not playing baseball as if they're just going out there to have fun. They're tense. They're trying to hit the long ball, and it's not going to happen. And they got lucky the night before in game 3, but that was a fluke. It was because you just knew. Like I made a video after the game, and I was like, right,
Yeah.
okay, we've survived another night, but do we really believe the bats are going to come through tomorrow and bring it home to Philly for us? And what would have happened even if they had got to game 5? Do we really? How excruciating would that have been to be sitting there and you just know in the back of your mind, are the bats going to turn up for Philly? Because the fans are going to go there and get behind them, and then their excuses after a loss is, the fans are too much, they're too loud, we can't take the wind in our face. What a load of crap. If you can't perform for your own fans and you can only perform when you're away, that is a bullshit excuse. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's so frustrating to hear those type of comments from Alec Bohm, who's the biggest loser, biggest crybaby on the team, and I'm absolutely sick of him. And I want him off this team. If you can't get a third baseman in free agency, or if Dombrowski can't make a trade before the new season starts, then put Edmundo Sosa at third base for now. You know what I mean? Because Edmundo
until Aiden Miller can come up.
Yeah. Because Sosa gives you something. He gives you more than Alec Bohm does.
He gives you heart.
Yeah, he gives you heart. He goes out there trying his best to win, and he doesn't bitch and complain if he goes 3 games for no hits or whatever. He comes back up and then he delivers. He plays the right game of baseball. He gets on base. the home runs, right? He's not a big home run hitter, but they do come because he's a patient player, as with Alec Bohm and the rest, and 1 through 3, they're not. So like in that regards, just let's talk about the top of the lineup 1 through 3. We know Bryce is going to be back next year. We
Yeah,
know Trey Turner's going to be back because they got long contracts, 10-year contracts or whatever. Um, Kyle Schwarber, he's going to be a free agent. JT Realmuto, and in fairness, JT showed up in that series. You know what I mean? JT got some good
yeah.
hits, and he played well. In fairness to JT, so I imagine they bring JT back. I think it'd be a mistake if they don't, unless they can get a decent catcher from free agency. I don't really know many names that are going to be out there. But so what do you think as far as free agency, just because you've got Harrison Bader looming? Do we try and see what a full season of Harrison Bader looks like? Because obviously his injury impacted things a bit.
Yeah.
Ranger Suarez, is Ranger back? What's your sort of thoughts on
I,
everything?
I I don't think Ranger's back first and foremost.
Mm,
I think he's going to command too much on the open market, and I think they're going to bring Painter up. They've got to
yeah,
bring Painter up to see what they have in the guy.
yeah.
And I mean, let's be honest, there weren't good returns or opinions on Painter when he was in AAA.
He struggled this year. He
He
did struggle.
struggled a bit. He did. But you look at the other young pitchers who've been brought up, like the Schlitzler guy from the Yankees who just killed the Red Sox in the final game of that
Yeah,
series, and then the two kids with the Red Sox, that young
yeah.
camp, and
The
Painter.
kid for the New
You
York Mets, that young
yeah,
pitcher, he's looking good.
you've got to bring Painter up because if Wheeler pitches next year, it's going to be very late in the season before he does, and who knows what kind of
Yeah.
how he's going to perform,
What's he going to look
after
like?
all
Yeah,
this.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah. I think Schwarber going into the offseason will be their number one priority. And I think the holdup there, like Jack and others have said, will be years. But I mean, you to me, you can't look at the money because this is something I told Jack. I know Harper's powers kind of declined a little bit, and
mm,
Schwarber's has come up, and the thing about that. But if you bring back Schwarber, and I said this sometime, maybe at the midway point to Jack and Ike and Spike, you could possibly have two guys going for 500 home runs around the same time on the
yeah,
same team. And if they are, they're Hall of Famers. That's the
yeah,
thing. If you hit 500 home runs, you're in the baseball Hall of Fame automatically. You know what I'm saying? And
mm,
and it, you can't look at the money with something like that because if both those guys are chasing 500 around the same time, then the people are going to come out to the ballpark. Yeah, I mean, unless the Phillies are just dreadful at that time, but still, yeah, if you got two guys chasing 500 home runs at the same time, they're going to show up for it.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I think Schwarber's going to be the number one priority for this team.
yeah,
Bader has a player option, so he can opt out, and I believe he will.
yeah,
But you saw the fire he lit under this team when he got
yeah,
here, and he played lights out when he got here. And I
yeah,
think that's another big key that where they lost losing him. He was kind of like the spark plug that injected fire. They had lost Wheeler, but they got Duran and Bader, and Bader's just like a firecracker, man. I mean,
yeah,
absolute firecracker. When he hit that
man,
ball in game one to bring JT home from third, that sac fly, he hit it toward left field, and it was right where we were sitting. I was like, "Oh shit, he's hitting it here."
yeah,
He just got under it a little bit, and the ball wasn't carrying that well that night, except for
yeah,
when Teoscar Hernandez hit the home run. But
mm,
I mean, I don't know what Bader's going to command on the open market, but the three moves that I think need to happen, you got to get rid of Cassidy. I don't give a shit. Eat
yeah,
money, do whatever, get him away from the team. You
yeah,
got to get Bohm out. Got to
yeah.
get him out. Bohm
Gotta
has had.
go.
He's 30 years old, and it's like he's going on 13 or something
Yeah,
with his immaturity. He's 6'5",
and he
hitting
can't hit a
12
home
home
run.
runs. Yeah, hitting 12 home runs. Yeah, he gets on base and stuff, but hello, he's slower than Christmas. I mean, I believe I'm 48 years old and overweight, and I believe I could outrun the big lumbering prick. I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
he's slow as molasses, dude, on the base.
yeah,
He and Cassidy both. But Cassidy's attitude, get those two guys' attitude out of that locker room. And third, I mean, you got to get Kirkring out. Drew had a tweet yesterday or maybe this
Yeah,
morning. I seen him. All the times that guy has kind of blown things for the
yeah,
Fields, and it's always blown it in the playoffs. I'm sure he's a good kid. I'm sure
yeah.
he's going to
I
have a
felt
long
bad for him in that
career.
situation. You know, what I mean,
I did
got to feel
too.
bad for him, but you know, he's got enough playoff experience. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Where and these are basic fundamentals that you taught from when you're a kid. You know. So and JT was even pointing. You know what I mean? His arm, it couldn't have been any more clearer. And
yep,
there was other situations in that game where, you know, like in other games, the ball comes back to the pitcher. First thing you do is throw it to first base.
yep,
You know what I mean? And it was, I don't know, it was just a mental error, and he even admitted it. And I give him credit for going to the reporters afterwards and, you know, taking the questions, and he didn't mince any
yes,
words. He was like, yeah, I effed up. It was a shit throw, and that was it. So he's probably feeling crap. And he's not the one to overall blame. Obviously, we know that we
no,
just said the bats. It's 1 through 3. They've had, you know, this is why I don't believe Bryce will. He might do. I could be wrong. I hope I am wrong, but I just don't believe Bryce Harper finishes his career with a World Series championship, even if it's not with the Phillies. I don't believe it, because you've had they've had 5 years now of an opportunity every year to win the World Series. They go to the World Series, and I know everyone says, but well, they weren't expecting to be there. But I think if you're good enough to get to the World Series, then you're good enough to win it. You know
yeah,
what I mean? And those core guys were there that year. And then they go to the NLCS, and they let it slip against the Diamondbacks at home.
yep,
You know what I mean? Where they should have swept that series. You know
yes,
that was there. And then they go out against the Mets last year. Now this year they go out against the Dodgers the same way. How many opportunities do you need to get there, to get the ring? You know what I mean? I just don't see how this core will ever do it. And Bryce especially, he's declining. He's losing his power. You know, he's too focused on having those moments at Citizens Bank Park. You know what I mean? And bedlam at the bank. That's it. He's too
yeah,
busy trying to get another bedlam at the bank situation. You know, so this team needs next year now. You know, they need an injection of youth. You know what I mean? Like you
yes,
said, you've got to bring up Painter, bring up Crawford, see what Miller's looking like in AAA at the beginning of the season. Maybe bring him in at the halfway point. You put Bryce Harper out in right field. If they do, you know, if they do let Cassidy go, or they trade him, or I think the Phillies have got to eat like $20 million,
yeah,
something like that. If it can be done, if they can find a way to do it, then do it. You know what I mean? Get rid of Alec Bohm. You know, put Saucer at third base, or if they bring Miller up, I think Miller could probably play for third base. Miller seems like a type of player where you could play shortstop, second base, third
yeah,
base. You know what I mean? He just seems that type of kid. He's got a hell of an arm on him. When
yes,
I've seen him play in games this year, uh, he's got a rocket launcher of an arm, better than Trey Turner. He's got a
yeah,
better arm than Trey Turner. You know, put Trey Turner. I heard a guy yesterday on the morning show talking about get rid of Bryson Stott, put Trey Turner at second base, and put
yeah,
Aiden Miller at shortstop. You know what I
yeah.
mean? And you put Bryce Harper back out in right field if they get rid. I mean, so that there's an option. You know, Bryson Stott. I think he's in a bit of a decline. You know, this year wasn't a good year for him overall when you look back. You know what I mean? He got going a little bit towards the end, but it wasn't enough. You know what I mean? It wasn't, you know, enough to carry into the postseason. And, you know, him, Marsh, you know, Bond, they were terrible. You know what I mean? So it's just, Bryson Stott, is he even here? I think he is. I think they will give him that,
I,
you know, another year possibly. But something has got to change drastically in this organisation. You know, John Middleton, he cannot be sitting there this year, and they cannot run the same thing back again. I know they
no,
love to do it. They love to repeat their mistakes. For some reason, they just love to do it, and it never you know, it's the definition of insanity, isn't it? Doing the same thing over and
yeah,
over again, expecting the same
yes.
results. They've done the same
Uh,
thing over and over again for 5 years now, and it hasn't worked. It hasn't brought up. They've gone from the top down to the bottom. You know what I mean? And this year, getting eliminated from the NLDS was worse than the way they got eliminated by the Mets last year. It was
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It was terrible. It was the bats gone cold and it was defensive errors. You know what I mean? And the starting pitching, I mean, with Wheeler going down just, right, you know, we all sort of in panic station then. Can Chris Sanchez move up to be that ace to carry us into the postseason? And he did enough. Was he like fantastic and lights out? No, but he was really good and good enough to, you know, to hold that position for us. Luzardo was unbelievable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of people were probably wondering, is Luzardo going to be able to meet the moment in the playoffs? Because can he pitch down the stretch when he struggles? And he did. He was fantastic. They bring him out to the bullpen, which I thought was a
Yeah.
fantastic decision by Rob Thompson. Um, and he and he was amazing out of the bullpen. You know what I mean? He did his job. So if I'm the Phillies, I'm offering him an early extension. You know what I mean? See if he'll at least offer it and see if he'll take it. You know what I mean? See what's there, or have a conversation with him. You know what I mean, about maybe after, because I know he's got 1 year left after, you know, next season now. So let's see. But how do you feel about the pitching in this series, just from the starting pitching to the bullpen?
I mean, the pitching was great. They
Mm,
spoiled great pitching performances. They like the game three, going with Nola for the first 2 innings, and then going to Ranger. I thought, well, maybe you should leave Nola in for a bit longer. And then they go to Ranger, and Ranger's first pitch gets hammered out of the park. And I'm like, oh shit, they should have stayed with Nola. But then Ranger after that, he settled in. You know, I
yeah,
mean, what was it, five innings, 80 pitches,
5
something like
innings, yeah.
that, and that's what gets me. It's like the team had the lead on the Dodgers, and then it was almost like after JT's home run, they were like, we can breathe now. And
Yeah.
they just started hammering the ball. And
Mm,
it wasn't even after Schwarber's 500-foot bomb. They were just
mm,
like, we can breathe. It took, JT to get up 4-1 for them to be like that, but they
yeah.
couldn't carry that momentum on. They couldn't. The
No.
bats were just like crazy cold. It was insane the way they were just swinging at every damn thing that was thrown at
Yeah.
them, and first pitch swinging. And it was awful, dude.
Yeah.
Absolutely awful. Something that I heard yesterday. I don't know if it would be financially possible, especially when you're going to have to eat the bulk of Casty's contract. But someone brought up re-signing Schwarber, give him that 4th year because they think that's kind of the holdup between 3 and 4 years. Give him
Right.
the
Right.
4th year and sign Pete Alonso and move Bryce back to right field.
Yeah. 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 Because Pete
I
Alonso's
don't know
opted
if you
out
can
now,
do
isn't
that
he?
financially. Yeah, I don't know if you can do that financially though. I really don't.
Yeah. The thing is, Pete Alonso's going to want big money contract
Yeah,
as well, and he's going to want something nice. You know, obviously, it's probably
yeah.
not going to be wherever he goes to. It's not going to be a long contract because Pete Alonso's getting older as well, but he's still performing at a decent level. He's going to get you those hits and home runs. But yeah, he'll want something.
And something else.
Mm,
He has something that they do not have. He's a right-handed power bat.
yeah,
All the power bats on the Phillies are left-handed, man.
left. Yeah,
Schwarber, Harper. I mean, Casty, he was your right-handed power bat, but it's not him anymore. You know what
no,
I'm saying? Turner used to be like a 25, 30 home run guy. That ain't him anymore.
no.
A right-handed power bat is what this team needs. Their main power bats are left-handed. Something that I heard was if you get rid of Bone, you sign Alex Bregman. I don't think the Red Sox are going to sign Bregman. I think Bregman's, gonna
Mm,
go elsewhere. I think the Red Sox are going to cheap out. That would be an option. Now Bregman, it's crazy that he has more pop, as small as he is, than Alec
mm,
Bone. But he's
yeah,
he's much better defensively. You could keep Bryce at first in that
yeah,
situation if you get Bregman, and then you bring Miller up slowly. But then when you bring Miller up, where do you put him? Because you still have Stott at second and Turner at short, I believe. So
yeah,
where do you put Miller? What's your outfield going to look like? Do you get Bregman cheaper? So you get, let's say you re-sign Schwarber, say Bregman's a little cheaper than Alonso, and then you can sign Bader and he can play center or left and Crawford play center, whichever. Crawford
yeah,
probably plays center, in my
yeah,
opinion, and because he's probably much faster and
yeah,
whatnot. But I don't know. There's a ton of things you could do there.
Yeah, I think with
Sorry.
Aiden Miller, I think if they do bring him up, or when they bring him up, I think he'll be like as a he'd be there to, if Stott is still here, obviously he'd be there to like rotate with those positions. You know what I mean? They'll see what he
Yeah.
looks like. He'll come in for Bryson Stott maybe halfway through a game, or they'll rotate starting games against each other. Obviously Trey Turner, he won't move. You know what I mean? He's just like, which he should, because it'll help the team. But it doesn't seem like he's very willing to do that. And yeah, Crawford, obviously centre field. I don't know if he's played much left field in his career. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, and like everyone's obviously hoping Crawford comes up, but like people will have to realize, and they probably do. I probably don't even need to say this, but like Crawford's not, he's not a big power hitter. You know what I mean?
No.
I think it was right at the end before the AAA season finished that he hit like his first 3 home runs of the year. And he's more of a small ball, but he plays base. I guess he just plays baseball the right way. He knows he hasn't got that power, so he's not swinging for power. He's swinging to get on base. He's fast as hell. He can run around the
Yeah.
bases like there's no tomorrow. So they're gonna have to bring up these young guys.
So my next
Yeah.
question. Go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go on, Just.
My next question is: we're talking about what are they going to do with this player? What are they going to do in free agency? That to me right now, the big question is who's going to manage the team.
I
Is
was
it going to
just
be
about
Rob
to, yeah,
Thompson?
that was my next point. Yeah. Yeah.
Is he going to come back? We heard something I did yesterday. Like I said, uh, they were talking about Hopper coming back. Would he be fired? Would he step aside? I don't think they're going to fire him per se. I really
Mm.
don't.
I think he's back.
But you could say he's stepping away, but he's going to be with the team in some capacity.
Mm.
That type of situation, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
possibly.
And Jack and James I think they're onto something with the Bruce Bochy talk. Now we don't know what Topper does behind the scenes. Topper does not seem like a very fiery person, anything like that.
Is he the
But I
Texas
think
Rangers
this
manager that's out there?
he's the
Is that
Rangers
him? Yeah.
manager. He won 3 World Series with the Giants. He
Yeah.
won one with the Rangers. He
Yeah.
retired from the Giants, and then he came back, with the Rangers. Won it a couple years ago with them. That was the year that the Phils should have been playing the Rangers in the World Series, but it was
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Diamondbacks.
Mm.
But he is only, he's one of the best managers out there, and he's going to be available. So is that something Dave Dombrowski does? Topper's not Dombrowski's guy. He inherited Dombrowski, or he inherited
Yeah.
Topper.
Yeah.
But rightfully so. Topper went to a world. They've been to the playoffs every year. Topper's been the manager. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm curious as to how all that's going to play out, though.
Yeah. Very, very interesting. I was saying to Drew last week, when we were doing the Red October pod, and I said Rob Thompson has got to manage this series like the best that he's ever managed a series in his career. You know what I mean? Like, he's got to get everything right. And I would probably say overall, he didn't get everything right. In
No,
this series, didn't really show his best, because having David Robertson come out for that inning and then leaving David Robertson in for the next inning was massive. It cost us big time. You were there at the game, for
yeah,
that. And, that first inning, was it the sixth inning, just that David Robson first came in the game? Was it the sixth inning or halfway through the
yes, I
sixth
think
inning, I
it
think?
was. I think he came in and got one out in 6, something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. And he didn't look great, you know what I mean? And
No,
and it was a bit shaky. He got him out to there, but he was shaky. And then when he came in for the 7th inning, it was a disaster.
yeah,
So that was a terrible decision by Rob Thompson. That was poorly managed, and he just he blundered it again. I mean, I'll hold my hands up. I thought, I was going mad for the next game. I was like, just bring Aaron Nola out there. Forget having Ranger Suarez pitch, in this game.
yeah.
Just put Aaron Nola out there. And Aaron Nola proved me wrong. You know what I mean? He wasn't fantastic, but he did enough to get him out there so they could bring Ranger in.
Yep.
And obviously after the home run, Ranger was brilliant. So, that turned out to be a good decision. You know what I mean? He made some good decisions with the bullpen in the last game against the Dodgers. You know what I mean? Bringing Luzardo out and stuff. But obviously where he messed up was obviously Kirkering. Kirk,
Yeah.
like with Drew's tweet yesterday, the facts, it's the facts, the stats are there. Kirkering has not fared well in the playoffs for the Phillies.
No.
And bringing Kirkering out in that situation yesterday cost them the game. It was not a good decision. He should have known that Kirkering might not live up to meet the moment, and he didn't. So it was a real bad decision by Rob Thompson, and it could cost Rob Thompson his job. It might not. I think unless, like you said, unless Rob Thompson steps away and remains in the organization in some capacity, and they get the manager from the Rangers, I think Rob Thompson will be back. I know that the guys like him in the clubhouse. We'll see him. This can be very interesting in the next few weeks. All these moves are going to be made. Whether they move early on, some of these guys with Schwarber and Real Mukto, they lock them down early, or they wait to see, they leave Schwarber, test the market and see what's out there. It'll be very interesting to see, does Rob Thompson get fired or not? Who do they bring in? It's going to be very, very interesting the next few weeks. I think it'll be quiet for a minute. I don't think, I think they'll let the dust settle.
Yeah.
And then maybe then we'll start to see some things happen. And
it'll be, I think it'll be like after the World Series or right before an announcement's made. Probably after, though, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll move on now to obviously the next part of this therapy session. And I hope this first half has helped us but obviously our passion, for me, obviously the Eagles are number one. It's the Phillies, and the Sixers and the Flyers or whatever. Sixers and Flyers are like write-offs. But then again, the Phillies, they are this close. And I said it the other night, they might be in the same sort of like being held in the same contempt as the Sixers are now, because the Sixers are known for blowing it in the playoffs. And what have the Phillies done for the last, 4.5 years, 5 years? They've blown it in the playoffs. So they are right there.
Yeah.
They are teetering on that, expectation where the Sixers are, So yeah, it's a real shame. But yeah, there we go. So look, on to the Birds, on to the Eagles. Just you were out in Philly week before last for the Denver Broncos game. You were out there for the Phillies game, obviously against the Dodgers, game 1, and then you went to the Eagles on the Sunday. You met up with a lot of the crew, with James and with Drew and Matt Gorham, your buddy, that helped you get the tickets, and Richie from the Northeast, and so it was great to see. I love the pictures you sent. When you seemed to have a great time. You met up with Ike and Spike and Ravi, and it seemed like you had a great time, even though the Eagles collapsed against the Broncos in that second half. You know what I mean? To not score any points in that second half was just, I couldn't believe what I was watching again. I thought, this can't be happening again. But I was sitting there and I was thinking, okay, the Broncos are coming back, but this team will find a way to win. They can always, you always have in the back of your mind that the Eagles find a way to win, even though they don't perform well and they haven't looked great out of the gun. They found a way to win these games, but it just came back to bite them. I guess you can only carry that forward for so long. And the Broncos played the game well. They had a balanced offense. They ran the ball. They passed it when they needed to, and as much as the defense couldn't get the stops that they needed, the offense had opportunity after opportunity in that second half to come back out and put something together, and they just couldn't do it. They could not do it. They became stagnant. They tried to run the ball, forcing the ball to A.J. Brown, and it didn't work. That was not the game to try and get A.J. Brown his yards. It just, I said it before, and, it just wasn't that type of game. Now, the Giants game, that was a game where they could have gotten A.J. Brown, the ball.
Yeah.
But that game last, Thursday night, that was just an overall sort of team collapse. The defense were awful. The injury bug is hitting us big time now. Landon Dixon's going to be out probably for a few weeks, and he probably needs it. Like we said at the beginning of the season, he doesn't look 100% healthy. He probably needs to be, he needs to have a rest. And now it's his ankle. Something's up with his ankle. That's not good for a lineman. Quinion Mitchell, he's got some sort of hamstring injury. We don't know how severe it is yet, what time he will miss. But if it is a good hamstring injury, then that could be up to a month. Nolan Smith isn't due back yet. Jalen Carter now, his shoulder isn't 100%, but he's been playing through it. But now he's got some sort of heel injury which stopped him. That might just be a one-game absence, hopefully. So how are you feeling just after watching these last two games? Because the offense is it's frozen up like the Phillies bats. They're trying to force the ball to AJ Brown. It's not working. You've got this, and there's still this AJ Brown drama out there, because I don't know if you saw what I put in the chat yesterday, that AJ Brown's getting interviewed by reporters after the game, and they were asking him, how did that conversation go between you, Jalen, and Saquon? And he was saying, what conversation? I don't think there was a conversation. I wasn't involved in a conversation. So we don't even know now. We can't even try. It's becoming a mess. So I need you to take over as the therapist for this one, because I don't know what is happening to this Eagles team, because the repeat is becoming there's still a lot of football left to be played. We've got time to get healthy, which is a good thing. The bye week is coming up soon, but we've got 2 more games to play against the Vikings and the Giants. So how are you feeling now, just with what's coming and what's just happened the last 2 weeks?
You don't want me to be your therapist, because at this point, if I'm your therapist, you're going to find the tallest bridge or cliff in Wales, and you're going to jump.
Oh, shit.
Because I feel like, you asked how I feel. I feel like a sack full of assholes.
Yeah.
When I made my first call back to the afternoon show this week, I told them I ain't coming back. I love Philadelphia. I love the fans. I love the football team.
I know, I could.
I love the Phillies. I ain't coming back, because when I show up, everything goes to hell in a handcart after I leave. But this time it went to hell in a handcart when I got there. When I went to my first Eagles game, at least they beat the Bills. And then when I left, they went to hell. And then when I went in last summer and seen the Phillies play, they beat the Dodgers. And then they went to hell. So now they just went to hell when I got there. They're like, you know what, this is what we're going to do now. And this is the roughest. It's been a week to today that I arrived in Philly. Actually, yesterday. But no, I'll kidding aside, with the football team, man, I couldn't be more disappointed in how they played that game against the Broncos. You've got a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter, and you give up 18 unanswered. You only ran the ball 11 times total, because AJ and Devontae are wanting their targets, wanting their catches. Okay, you target them and catch them, and you build a lead, and then you use the run game to salt the game away. That's how I've always heard everybody talk. Once you get that lead, you get that big lead, you use the run game. They ran it 2 times in the whole second half, I believe, maybe 3. Run no time off the clock, allowed the Broncos to stay in it. And then it was just a complete, utter catastrophic failure from the coaching staff, the play calling and everything else. The defense has to step up too. When you count Thursday night's game in that second half against the Broncos, the defense has played like shit. Yeah. Now, granted, like you said, there are a lot of injuries. No Nakobe Dean, no what's his name? The corner that's on the IR now, Beckett.
Quinion Mitchell.
No, the other corner. He's got a shoulder injury. He was kind of the number 2 behind Adoree Jackson. Jacorian Beckett or Bennett, something like Jacorian Bennett.
Yeah.
See,
man, I completely forgot about him.
This is something. This is something that we've not had to deal with the last several years. Is a lot of injuries, and the team is not as deep. The pass rush is not what it has been, and everybody's second guessing Howie now, because Mekhi Becton, who's with the Chargers now, he's not playing as good with the Chargers as he did with us, but he is a massive human being. And Cam Jurgens was surrounded by massive human beings. And you look at Jordan Mailata, Dickerson, and then you had Becton and Johnson. All those
Mm.
guys were 6'4" plus. All
Yeah.
right. And then Jurgens is kind of on the smallish side, 6'2", 6'3", whatnot. He's more of the nimble center, Jason Kelsey type. And you were seeing him getting pushed into the backfield Thursday by
Yeah.
Dexter Lawrence and some of those guys.
They
The
got
Giants
bullied
have
the
a
whole
legit
game.
pass rush. Yes. They got bullied the whole game. It was belts to asses, but it was the Giants putting belts to ass.
Yeah.
It's like we don't have an attitude about us on defense, and it's very frustrating. But the thing that gives that kind of helps right now is okay. We started 4-0.
Mm.
I don't remember our preseason predictions when we were going through everything, but I think maybe I had one loss in the first four, and you may have had 2-2 in the first four, something like
Yeah, I
that,
think I
maybe.
was 2-2.
So
Yeah.
we overperformed in the first four games when looking back at it, what we
Yeah.
thought would happen. But we've underperformed the last two. We should be 6-0 right now.
Yeah.
Well, I take that back. Let's say 5-1. Let's say we squeak
Mm.
out a win against the Broncos and still get thumped by the Giants the way we did.
Yeah.
We're still 5-1. So right now we're still 4-2. But this team, I don't know what's going on inside the locker room, man. Like
Yeah.
the shit with AJ, I'm over it, dude. The
Yeah.
shit, and I'm almost. I mean, I know Corey probably ain't going to like hearing this, but I'm about over this shit with Jalen, man. He had
I
AJ
know.
wide open for a touchdown when he threw that pick.
Yeah.
AJ was wide open across the
Yeah.
middle. So if I'm a quarterback, my number one read is probably going to be AJ Brown. My number
Yeah.
two read is going to be Devontae Smith. And it ain't going to be Jahan Dotson. And when he threw that pick, he stared Dotson down, man.
Yeah.
It showed it in the replay. His eyes, he was staring him down. The
Yeah.
corner got a great jump on his. I mean, he was
Yeah.
reading the quarterback. The corner was.
Yeah.
Jalen, man, I'm telling you, I'm not in Jack and Spike territory with Jalen,
Mm.
but man, my confidence is waning a little bit right now, man. It
Yeah.
really is. And it's so frustrating though, with all the bullshit drama. I know AJ is a top three receiver when you're getting the
Yeah.
ball in his hands. Man, I'm about over it though. I ain't kidding. I mean, I'm about ready to say, people's probably gonna think I'm crazy, but I'm about ready to say pull the trigger and let him go somewhere.
Yeah, this stuff is just it's bleeding too much now into team performance. You know what I mean? When you got AJ there standing after the game, and well, I think it was before the game started. I can't remember. I think it was before the game started, and they were asking him, did you have this conversation with Saquon and Jalen to get everything right and get you all on the same page? And he's like, no, what conversation? I don't know about that conversation that we had. And
Yeah,
so when you got stuff out there like that, and then the week before, it's just whatever has gone on between AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts, they've got to get it fixed. Now, if I'm Nick Sirianni, at this point, if I'm Jeffrey Lurie, right, I'm dragging them, that
yeah,
core, that group. I'm dragging Nick Sirianni, Harry Roseman, AJ Brown, Jalen Hurts, Ken Batula. I'm getting that group there. I'm getting them in my room, in my office in Lincoln Financial Field, and I'm saying this shit has got to end. Whatever's going on with you two
it ends here.
personally or football, it ends here because I'm paying you mega $1 million to put a product out on the field to get me a third Super Bowl or to get better performances at the very least. And it's not happening. And I'm sick of hearing this shit on the media. I'm sick of everyone talking about it, podcasts
Yeah,
like us. I don't want to put it on, get a better performance out on the field to squash it, because it's the same thing every year now for the last 3 years. From the 2023 season is when it started, bled into 2024 briefly, but they somehow worked around it to get it fixed in 2024. Thank God. But this year, it's not getting fixed. They ain't fixing it.
yeah,
So it's, and I watched, obviously, after the Phillies game. You know what I mean? I think most of the Eagles game had happened, so I was watching it on record. So I'm going through it now. I'm standing there with the baby in my arms. I'm standing in front of everything. It's 3:00 in the morning, so I was trying to take
yeah.
everything that's going on, what's happening. And Jalen, yeah, Jalen made some bad decisions in that game, but I thought he did make some good passes towards the end of the game. I mean, after the pick, obviously. but it was too late
Yeah.
then. But then, even then, when we did get a decent drive going towards the end of the game, AJ Dillon fumbles the bloody ball, and then that killed any sort of momentum that was left. I mean, even if they
Any
had gone
momentum.
in,
Yep.
yeah, even if they even had gone in and got a touchdown, the Giants would have still been up by 10 points, I think, something like that. So still would have been a battle because there was only like, I think there was like 6 minutes remaining on the clock, so it would still have been a bit of a battle. But you never know; they might have. But that just killed the rest of it, and it was not a good game on both sides of the ball. The offensive line got beaten up. The defensive line got beaten up. You know, you got Quinion Mitchell leaving the game with his hamstring injury. I think Reed Blankenship left the game at some point because him and Cooper
He got
DeJean
he got banged up.
collided. Yeah. So, you know what I mean? We still haven't got Nolan Smith back. And I don't want to make the excuse for whatever happens at the end of the season. Oh, we had injury concerns. Like you said before, as we started talking, there's a lot of scrutiny going to be now on Howie, on the decisions that he made before the season began, because he chose not to re-sign Mekhi Becton, and Mekhi Becton had like a cheap contract for the Chargers. It wasn't even a lot of money, really. I'm sure Howie could have
No.
paid that money to, what was it,
Same
like
thing
2
with
years,
Isaiah
20 million?
Rogers.
Yeah,
I don't even know if it was that much. Isaiah Rogers got 2 years, 11 million, and
yeah.
he's excuse me, he's playing like a Pro Bowl corner right
playing
now.
playing fantastic. So those two guys, I thought, would have been back. I knew we were going to lose Milton Williams and Sweat and Josh Sweat. You just knew those
Sweat.
guys were looking for big
Yeah.
money deals. We knew they weren't coming back. Okay, you can take that because we've got Jalen Carter, a Joe Moore, Nolan Smith, Jordan Davis, and there was players there to replace them. But like the edge rushers are not. I know Nolan Smith is hurt, but he didn't really do anything before he got hurt. Jalux Hunt is probably still not ready to take that leap. Maybe they were hoping he would, or he
No.
would look a bit better than he did, but he's not ready to take that leap. And it's just it's whatever happens towards
So
the end of the season. I
so
think the overall blame is going to be on Howie Roseman because he builds the team. And if we initially had Mekhi Becton, like you said, what's Cam Jurgens got at the moment? He's got Brett Toth, who's small, and he's got Tyler Steen, who is small for a lineman. You know what I mean?
yep.
He hasn't got the
Yep.
big bodies are on the edge. And even Lane Johnson is banged up. He's not played awful, but
Yep.
he's clearly playing through a couple of injuries. Jordan Mailata's getting bullied every week. It's just
Yep.
it's not looking good.
Well, the thing too that I liked was Lane coming out saying the offense being predictable. I like that. I hope it lights a fire under the coaches' asses somehow or another,
Yeah,
because it seems like every time we hire from within or promote from within, it goes this way. It happened this way with Brian Johnson. It
yeah,
happened this way when Doug was here with the
mm,
guys that he would promote from within.
yeah,
If Sirianni is going to be a what do you call it, CEO head coach,
mm,
he's got to be able to manage the team, and he's not managing the team. There's too much shit coming out with the AJ Jalen bullshit, with Saquon having to meet with AJ and Jalen, and then AJ saying, "I don't know what you're talking about,"
yeah,
stuff like that. There's too much of that shit going on, and maybe we don't hear it from these other coaches that are CEO type head coaches because we're not fans of those teams or whatever. But there's too much of that crap going on. It's too much has went on for the past several years. So if you're going to be a CEO head coach and you're not going to be the type that calls his own plays and brings, a great offensive scheme to the table, you got to do your job in other ways. And to me, Sirianni's not doing that job. So I liked the fact that Lane called out, we're not getting the plays
yeah,
in time. We're running to the line with 5 seconds left on the play clock. That shit should be fixed up, because what's going to happen here next week? I'm sorry, I'm battling right now, dude. I've got some kind of sinus thing killing me. But
oh
when
man,
we play the Vikings are they played 2 weeks overseas, correct? They played in
yeah,
Ireland
yeah,
and somewhere over in
London,
England, maybe something
yeah,
something like that, London. So we've got that against them, but it's like they've had a bye as well, and we've got the mini bye. But if you think
Mm.
Carson Wentz ain't licking his chops with Jordan
Yeah,
Addison and Justin Jefferson going against Keely
yeah,
Ringo and Adoree Jackson, dude, we're gonna make Carson look like 2017 Carson if we play like
yeah.
we did against the
Well,
Giants. And
look what
something
he's
else,
looked.
I want to bring up
Yeah,
one. Yeah,
yeah.
I want to bring up one thing about that Giants game too before I forget. One thing,
Mm,
NFL needs to get something under control that I ain't liking. Okay, these quarterbacks, we brung it up with Pat Mahomes when it was like he was going to run out of bounds and he
mm,
lowered his shoulder into that DB.
yeah.
Because the DB lets up because he thinks Mahomes is going out of bounds. Jackson Dart did the same shit
Oh,
to
I know.
Jihad Campbell in that
Yeah,
game. He made him think he was going out of bounds, and at the last minute, because Campbell was cutting him off, he just wasn't going to hit him. He was cutting him
yeah,
off to make sure he didn't get that first down marker. Okay, so
yeah.
Campbell was cutting him off, and I'm going to bring this up on Go Birds Pod today. I know it's irrelevant in the grand scheme of the game that it did not matter, but Jackson
Mm,
Dart, once he got there, he lunged head first at Jihad Campbell. Head
yeah,
first at him. So if Campbell launches on Jackson Dart on that play, it's going to be 15 yards anyway. It's going to be a first down. So these
yeah,
damn quarterbacks, if you're going to do shit like that, I'm sorry, I'll eat that 15 yards. I'll tell my
yeah,
linebackers, my DBs, whomever, I don't give a shit. I'll eat that 15 yards because I'm going to take your ass out of the game if you're going to pull candy ass shit like that.
yeah.
I'm
And
sorry,
then
but these damn quarterbacks, they get every damn call. There was a sack last week, just a straight up sack, and he hammered the guy. They threw a roughing the passer penalty on it, dude.
yeah.
He was a straight sack. I'm sick of this shit. Sorry,
And
ran
then
over.
he, and then he's, and then he's like high fiving the ref on a later play as well. Did he like
Yes,
high five? Like, how is that allowed? That
yes.
cannot be allowed. You know what I mean? So, yeah,
Now,
yeah, and going back to Carson Wentz, like, look, I mean, obviously he's only a few games in with the Vikings, and he hasn't looked obviously
yeah,
like 2017 Carson Wentz, but he's looked a lot better because he's actually got some good
yeah.
receivers to throw the ball to. So,
And
you know what I mean?
he's got a good coach.
Yeah, yeah.
That coach in Minnesota's a
Yeah,
really good coach, man.
and the Vikings, I gotta say, the Vikings are running the ball really well. They've created a balance. I watched those two games, the one in London and one in Ireland the week before, and they've got a real good balanced offense at the moment. They're not making Carson Wentz throw the ball too much because they know that will be a problem for him. You know what I mean? They know
Yeah,
then that could create turnovers. So they're running the ball, and then they're having Carson Wentz go to Addison and go to Justin Jefferson because they know those guys are ready then to eat, and it's working. You know what I mean? So if Vic Fangio
yep.
doesn't get something, I know we're banged up, but he's got Keely Ringo and Adoree Jackson are killing this team.
Atrocious.
They are awful.
Atrocious.
It just goes back to me repeating myself again with how we not re-signing Isaiah Rodgers, in free agency.
Yeah,
Yeah, that has really hurt this defense, and now especially now that we're getting so banged up on all sides of the flaming ball. But if Quinion Mitchell misses this game now, I know they're on a mini bye week at the moment, so hopefully, crossing our fingers, it's not too bad of an injury, and but I doubt he's going to play. The Eagles are really
yeah.
careful when it comes to injuries. They don't put guys on the field for the sake of it. You know what I mean? So
It's especially
it's going,
soft tissue injuries like that.
yeah, it's going to be interesting, man. So yeah, just I think we'll leave it there. I feel a little bit better after this therapy session. I gotta say, you make
Oh,
a pretty good shrink.
I don't.
You lost your temper a couple of times,
I'm
but
ready to
I'm
jump off a
sure,
bridge. Yeah.
yeah, you've walked me off the ledge for now. So I think I'm okay. I feel a little bit better. I still feel a little sad, but what can you do? You just got to hope that these guys and these teams can
Yeah.
find a way back and rally and get it together. Because if the drama doesn't end soon for the Eagles, then that's going to be the ultimate killing point for the team. They've got to squash this drama. They've got to get
Yeah.
healthy. They've got to play better. And we see what the Phillies do in free agency, who they re-sign, if Rob Thompson is here or not, and we'll see what they look like in March next year. It's going to be a long off season for the Phillies, but obviously now our focus will
Yeah.
turn full time to the Eagles, and the Vols are playing today. 9 o'clock game for the
Yeah. Go to
UK over
Arkansas
here.
today.
So I'll try and watch the Vols tonight. I'll tune in at some point. I'm looking forward to that. And so yeah, that's it for this week, guys. I hope me and Justin hope you guys made you guys feel a little bit better, a little less sad and hopeful. But thanks for
Yeah.
tuning in and giving us a listen, everyone. Give us a like, a follow, subscribe. We're doing really well at the moment, so it's really appreciate everyone's support, and we just love getting together every week with Drew, with Corey, me and Justin. We love getting together and just talking sports and getting it all out there, because it definitely helps get through the hard times like now. So thanks everyone. So until next time, go Birds, go Phils, go Vols. See you all next week.
Love y'all, mate.